Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. The summer event has now started, and as we suspected, Storm is the paywall uniform. It's really unfortunate that they did this because the previous uniform doesn't have any healing on it or any way to keep the character alive, so if you want to use the character in higher endgame content, you really can't do that with the previous uniform. Just to be upfront, if you're not really going to push to higher stages of World Boss Legend, where you need a strong mutant character, and you don't really care about the increased support passive that she provides to element damage characters, then you can skip this uniform. One of the consolations is that if you don't get this uniform and opt to get Iceman's uniform instead, which is just a crystal cost, Iceman is actually better than Storm. Even when she's up to level 80, level 70 Iceman can actually do just as well as her, and possibly just a little bit better. It's only when you get Storm to T4 where she really takes off, so if you do get her uniform, it's probably a good idea that you kind of start working towards her T4 as well. The comparison is very similar to Jane and Thor with the initial patch, where Jane is pretty much on par with Thor even at level 80 in some instances, but then once Thor becomes T4, he clearly becomes the better of the two. Anyways, I was lucky enough to get her potential unlocked on the first day, and because I had enough resources and I did pick up one pack for the T4 materials, I was also able to T4 her. So I'm going to show you how the character does just with the uniform at level 70, as well as the artifact I believe, and then at level 80, and then at T4. The initial test is with her previous uniform to see how that stacks up to the new one, and as you can see, I'm not using a leadership or support, and I don't have a damage proc on her. At stage 9, I was able to complete the first phase with about 3 minutes and 6 seconds remaining, but I did end up dying, so I didn't really continue this test because it would have been just way too much of a hassle to complete fully. To put into perspective just how big the upgrade is, with the new uniform I got to the last 13 health bars of Knull at that same 3 minute and 6 second mark. And then a minute later I completed the stage fully. I was also lucky enough to get her artifact for free in the Essence chest, so I got a 3-star version of that, and it allowed me to clear this stage 30 seconds faster, though I believe that's partially due to a slightly better rotation. So it's probably just a 15 to 20 second improvement with the artifact. Because I unlocked her potential so quickly, I kind of forgot to test her in a higher stage without a damage proc, so the rest of the testing that you see is with a mighty CTP of Judgment equipped. In terms of build options, you can use something like an energy or destruction, because depending on the rotation that you do, she can be proc friendly, but to completely maximize her damage, I would say that your best options for PvE are either a CTP of Judgment or a CTP of Rage. Between those two, I would probably recommend a CTP of Rage first. Even though she doesn't have guaranteed crit, it does perform better than a regular Judgment. It's only once you get to the Mighty and Brilliant Judgments that the CTPs exceed the CTP of Rage, for things like World Boss Legend specifically. But otherwise, the CTP of Rage should perform better in things like Giant Boss Raid and most content that you compare just to a regular Judgment. The main benefits of the new uniform is that she's now actually playable because she has healing on her 4th skill. She also gains that element damage and ignore dodge, which obviously also applies to allies, and besides that, her skills hit more hard and have more hits on them. Even with the healing, she is still really troublesome to play because she is very fragile. She doesn't have any damage mitigation in her kit, and her movement speed is honestly appalling and should really be addressed. She's quite possibly one of the slowest characters that I've played, especially for one that flies, and it just doesn't really make any sense and really hurts her playability, since a lot of mechanics in the World Boss Legend stages and even in Giant Boss Raid now require you to dodge skills, and if you're really slow you can't do that. So because of this, she is still difficult to play, and I would highly advise the devs to increase her base movement speed, since even adding movement speed to her currently is not great because the base value is so low. Other than that, she kind of needs an additional heal, possibly on her ultimate, similar to Luna's, where it just keeps healing you after it's activated. Or alternatively, they need to add a big movement speed increase when the ultimate is used, or have some healing somewhere else in her kit, or just have the ultimate provide damage mitigation or alternatively, it could also be on the uniform. Just something needs to be done because her survival is really unacceptable. But you can see the damage is definitely there since I was able to clear stage 34 with over 2 minutes left. If you're wondering what the skill rotation for the character is, it's 3 slight delay cancel, 5 slight delay cancel, and then 4. Once you have the ultimate, you basically want to cancel the 4th skill into the 6th skill, and depending on how the procs are going, you can also quick cancel most of them just to get the damage buffs and have the proc available for the 6th skill. Because there are so many delay cancels, it is why I advise a Rage or a Judgment instead, and the rotation for that would be either 3 or 2 first, either one being a delay cancel. So I did 2 delay cancel, 3 delay cancel, 5 delay cancel, and then 4. After that, you can do 2 delay cancel into 1, and then your skills should reset and your next proc should be available. When your ultimate is ready, you do the same rotation, so 2 delay cancel, 3 delay cancel, 5 delay cancel, 4 cancel, and then go into the 6th skill. If you want to get the most out of the ultimate skill though, you can just do 3 delay cancel, 5 delay cancel, and then cancel 4 right away into the 6th, which should give you more proc uptime for the ultimate. I put up on screen what the full rotation looks like with the main rotation, the little mini rotation before your skills come back up, and then the rotation when your ultimate is up before going back to the beginning. Also, if you're wondering when to delay cancel the 3, 5, or 2, there is a camera movement up before the skill activates, so when you see the camera bob up is when you can cancel that skill. Funny enough, I wasn't able to complete stage 45 of Mephisto with Storm because I had to play so safe that I ran out of time. If I played a little bit more dangerously though, I probably could have finished the stage or at least gone down to the last 5 health bars. To give you an even better idea of the raw damage that this uniform provides, I took her into a giant boss raid Dormammu, still at level 70, and even with a type disadvantage, I was able to complete the fight with over a minute left. Because I don't have access to Alliance Battle Extreme for her restrictions, I took her into a squad battle with no type restrictions and was able to score in the 9.6 million range, which I guess is pretty decent. I didn't include the testing at level 72 this time around, but from my experiences testing Thor, Iron Man, and Moon Knight from 72 to 80, it's usually about a 30-second difference, I would say. Compared to her performance at level 70 though, at level 80 she clears the stage 34 of Knull about a minute and 30 seconds faster. On Mephisto, however, I reached that same 11 health bar mark that I previously failed on with the level 70 test in about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And then 20 seconds later, I complete the stage fully. One of the reasons that I believe the clear time is so much better for this is because the increased burst damage allows me to skip a lot of the phases where I would otherwise be switching characters and dodging the damage and wasting a lot of time. Similar to the results of other characters from 70 to 80, her clear time improved by about a minute in Giant Boss Raid Dormammu. In squad battle, her improvement was about 400,000 more points, and I also took her into stage 10.2 of Dispatch, and with Thor and White Fox's leadership and replacing Moon Knight, she was able to give me my fastest clear time yet of 53 seconds, which is about 5 to 7 seconds faster than I had with Moon Knight. On stage 12.5, I saw a similar improvement, but with Storm instead of Moon Knight, I got a 15-second faster clear. So if you run Dispatch a lot, depending on how you've built this character or the other T4s, she might possibly give you your fastest clear time, specifically if you combo her with Thor. Here are what my materials looked like before I T4'd Storm. So I had about 5,000 Death Seed, 6,000 Carbonadium, and 6.5 thousand Soul of the Faltine. You can look at my Thor video to see how the cost compares in terms of the materials that I used for the gears specifically, since the cost for the Death Seed is pretty fixed. I believe it's 2,250 for every T4. For my other materials, however, I ended up using, I believe, somewhere around 5.5 thousand Carbonadium and around 4.5 thousand Soul of the Faltine. At this point, for any players who are trying to T4 more than one character every 2 months, the material that is the biggest bottleneck so far is the Carbonadium. The devs should really look into increasing the drop rate for this material in World Boss Legend, especially if it is your boss of the day, but they should also provide this material outside of the source. Right now, the time to T4 character can be artificially extended a lot if you get really bad RNG trying to get those level 30 gears on all 4 slots of your character. Here are what my materials looked like after I T4'd the character, and as you can see, the carbonadium is significantly lower than the death seed and the soul of the Faltine, which is why I said that something needs to be done to kind of balance these out. Here is what it looked like when I T4'd the character. So again, it just plays the T3 animation, which I have to say is still pretty cool. And then it obviously shows the logo switch from T3 to T4. Her stat bump is pretty decent, but expected for a blast type. She gets about 15,000 additional energy damage and around 30,000 additional health, but is still kind of low in that department since she is under 100,000, at least for my build. And then the instinct obviously increases the most, which is typical for tier 4 characters, going up by a little bit over 3 times. If you're wondering what striker to use, she has the same benefit as Thor, so order characters give her a higher ranked tier 4 skill. And if you want to look at some of the potential options, you can just head over to the tier 4 Thor video since I covered those in more detail there. However, since I have Thor at T4 and it increases the ultimate skill the most, that is the one that I'm choosing. With the T4 skill unlocked, I'm able to complete the same stage of Knull 20 seconds faster than at just level 80, but again, because the stage is kind of low for the damage that I'm dealing, it doesn't really show the level of improvement that I got from the T4. On Mephisto, however, I have an improvement of about a minute and complete the stage in roughly around a minute and 40 seconds. I wasn't able to record my run on stage 49, but I was only 2 seconds off from completing the 100-second challenge. This means that when I unlock stage 50 of Knull, I should be able to blitz it under 100 seconds, since Knull is generally weaker and has less health, and does way less damage than Mephisto, I find, so I don't have to worry about dying or dodging as much and wasting time there. I didn't really do any runs on Ultron, but I think she would do really well there, since all of her skills do a lot of AoE and keep him from optimizing. In Giant Boss Raid though, that T4 let me clear this stage 3 minutes faster than with just the level 80. If you think that clear time was kind of slow, keep in mind that that was with a type disadvantage, with Dormammu having the speed type. I also did another run, this time when Dormammu was combat, giving Storm that type advantage. With that, I was able to clear a minute and 30 seconds faster. I went one step further and this time actually optimized the team, and that let me shave off another 40 seconds from the clear time, letting me finish in about 2 minutes and 50 seconds roughly. Keep in mind that a CTP of Rage will likely give you a 30 to 40 second improvement further still. And if you manage to also give her Odin's, I'm pretty sure that you can clear the combat day or the day when she has a type advantage in under 2 minutes. Also, if you're wondering when to use the T4 skill, try to use it first before your other skills, but it really doesn't matter. As soon as you get it, pretty much use it, but only on the rotation when your ultimate is also available. With only one attempt and the T4 unlocked, I'm able to score about 300 to 400,000 more in squad battle. She seems to have a pretty similar playstyle to Thor in score-based modes, which means she might not be the greatest for that. This patch, however, my clear time improved even more. On 10.2, I actually went under the 50-second clear time mark, and then on stage 12.5, I actually was able to clear it in 60 seconds flat, which I believe is 24 seconds faster than my fastest run, where I had Moon Knight instead of Storm. But you also have to keep in mind that my Moon Knight didn't have a T4. Either way, Storm and Thor paired in Dispatch seem to be a pretty good combination. But just to summarize, the character is great for things like Giant Boss Raid and World Boss Legend, specifically if you're trying to go to those higher stages where X-Men is a requirement, since again, there isn't really that many great high damage X-Men characters. However, if you're not really doing that, you don't really plan to T4 the character, and you don't really care for the increased support passive that she provides, I'd say that this uniform likely won't give you much value and you can't skip it. It's kind of unfortunate that not having the uniform kind of locks out the character from being playable in most high-end content, but sadly that's the case. If you do get the uniform though, you might also be kind of frustrated since she struggles with survival, and like I said, the devs really need to address that. This is why I wouldn't necessarily recommend this uniform, especially considering how good Iceman is with his crystal cost uniform, which you'll see in the next video. I also didn't include any testing for her in PvP like Timeline because I found that both Storm and Iceman really struggled in those modes. It's unfortunate that the character finally got an upgrade, especially to T4, and I can't really recommend her. Iron Man will likely give you way more value as a T4, especially if you also have his older villain uniform, and the best part is that he is way cheaper and not paywalled. Hopefully the devs release another uniform down the line to make the character playable for everyone, but in the meantime they definitely should address the survivability of the character, since it feels horrible to get a paywalled uniform that also struggles to stay alive and deal the high damage that she can deal. Anyways, that does it for this one. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. And if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. I always appreciate the time people take to watch these, so thank you, but the video is now over.